Atta, you let me bury you. Let her daughter grow up asking Jesus where her father went. You need to open your mouth and tell me why. Atta's voice was quiet, too quiet. I had to. It wasn't easy, but I did it to protect you. Protect me from what? Atta, I ask you again, protect me from what? Atta looked down at the nylon bag. Then away. It's complicated. Enne's voice cracked open. Sharp. No, 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 it's not. How can you fake your death, abandon your wife, abandon your child, marry me? And you say it's complicated? No, no, that's calculated. Was someone after me? Was someone after Ada? Were you marked for death, or are you just dressing up betrayal in a nice wrapper? Atta, tell me, what exactly was going on? Many years ago, in the beautiful city of Makurdi, there lived a young woman named Silva Eno. She worked as a secretary at a government office and shared a flat with her cousin near Worokum. Silva was the kind of woman that made people pause twice, not because of her beauty, but because of her peace. She walked like someone who had seen pain but chose not to wear it on her face. She lost her father at the age of 16. Her mother had passed long before then. Life didn't come with a soft pillow, but Silva held herself together with dignity. She wasn't chasing flashy men or fairy tales. She just wanted a man who would love her, truly love her, and grow with her. That was how she met Atta. They met at the ATM stand outside a bank in high level. Silva's card kept bouncing, and Atta was behind her, smiling with small teeth and big pity. You dey try again? Maybe the machine dey reject fine girls o, he said. She rolled her eyes but smiled. Or maybe the machine is tired of broke people. He laughed. That laugh stayed with her all day. They started talking from there, first as casual friends, then late night calls, then market runs. He wasn't rich. In fact, the first time he took her out, it was to one small buka that sold catfish pepper soup in plastic bowls. But he was consistent. Gentle, kind, the type of man who listened when you talked and remembered what you said 3 months later. Sometimes, though, he'd zone out during conversations. Siva would ask, "What are you thinking?" And he would smile and say, "I'm just planning the future." But she never asked what kind. When he finally asked her to be his wife, there was no long kneeling or saxophone in the background. It was just one quiet evening. He put a cheap ring on her hand and asked her one sincere question. Silva, I know I'm not where I want to be, but I want to build a life with you. Brick by brick. Will you be my wife? Silva said yes, and they had a small wedding. Her cousin helped decorate the hall with balloons. The cake was from a friend. There was no makeup artist, so Silva did her own face and still looked like sunlight. They moved into a one-bedroom flat in Wadata. Their landlord had a face like thunder and a mouth like radio, but they didn't care. Every evening, they would sit on the floor, eat soaked gari with groundnut and laugh about the future. One night, Silva asked, "What's your biggest dream?" Atta smiled and said, "To disappear from everything and start afresh one day." She laughed, but he didn't. Atta worked with a local political campaign team, mostly errands and documents, but it paid their bills. Silva kept her job and managed the home with wisdom. They dreamed together, prayed together, sometimes fought about small things like whose turn it was to wash the bedroom. And then their biggest blessing came. 2 years into the marriage, Silva gave birth to a baby girl. They named her Ada, their own first daughter, even though she was their only child. She looked like Atta but had Silva's eyes. From the moment she arrived, she became the center of their world. Atta would carry her like egg and call her my Ada. He would sing to her at night, rock her to sleep and joke. If this girl ever brings home a boy, I will interview him like FBI. But there were times he stared at Ada for too long, like he was searching for something in her face. Once Silva asked why, but he said nothing. She's just beautiful. A full future. Then he would look away. Their home was small, but their hearts were full. 3 years later, Atta resigned from work and soon started his own business. Fortunately, within months, they moved out of their one-bedroom apartment into their own home. Things started looking up for them until the fire. One quiet Monday morning, Atta left for work as usual, kissed Silva on the forehead, tickled Adora and waved goodbye. That was the last time they saw him. By afternoon, Silva got a call that there had been a fire accident at his business place. An electrical fault. The building had gone up in flames. The next few days were a blur. Police reports, hospital visits, endless crying. The staff said Atta didn't make it out. They said his body was burnt beyond recognition. But they believed the body was his. They showed Silva his wristwatch. It was half melted and familiar. A forensic test was done. The results said that person was Atta. It wasn't long before they prepared the funeral. Everybody cried. People came. His family, hers, neighbors, church members. A man even talked about how tomorrow is not promised. He said Atta had promised to teach him new skills in football that weekend. Silva just sat still, holding Ada. She didn't cry loudly. She just looked lost, like someone whose soul had gone out to look for the person they loved. Her husband was gone. And just like that, the woman who used to laugh while sharing Gary became a widow at 28. After Atta's funeral, the world didn't pause for Silva. Life moved on, as if love of her life hadn't just vanished like morning mist. People came to visit for a while, friends from church, neighbors who brought soup in plastic coolers, some of Atta's business partners who looked more confused than sad. But after 3 weeks, everyone stopped knocking. The phone calls reduced, the food stopped, even the fridge hummed louder than usual, like it too had noticed the silence. Silva stayed strong for her daughter Ada. The girl was only 6, too young to understand death fully, but old enough to feel his presence. She would ask, "Mommy, are you sure Daddy is with Jesus?" Silva would smile softly, brushing her hair. "Yes, baby, he's with Jesus and he's watching over you." Every night, Silva stared at the ceiling, asking questions that had no answers. How did it happen so suddenly? Why did it have to be him? Only him. What was she supposed to do now? She went back to work after 2 months. The office staff welcomed her with half smiles and careful silence. Her desk still had the note that had dropped during one of his surprise visits. "Lunch today, or you pretend you're too busy." She didn't remove the note. She just left it there like a whisper from the past. Atta's family too wasn't troublesome. They were quite supportive. Nobody asked about inheritance or anything. It was as if his death had shut the door none of them wanted to reopen. But Silva kept his memory alive. She told Ada stories about how her father once got lost in Wadata just because he refused to ask for directions. About how he always put just 2 cubes of sugar inside Gary and he would lick the spoon like it was very sweet. About how he would lift her high and say, "My Ada, you fly higher than me." She taught her daughter his favorite phrases, showed her his old shirt and told her never to be afraid of the world because her father had been brave. Ada clung to those stories like bedtime prayers. And as the years passed, she grew into a smart, determined young girl. She wanted to know everything about her father. She asked questions, read his old books, and always said, "One day I'll go to the same school he went to." Silva would nod with a small smile. "You will, my love. You will make him proud." But even as Ada grew stronger, Silva still had her quiet moments of aching. The kind that crept in after bedtime stories when the house was dark and the silence too heavy. 4 years after Ata's supposed death, a man named Eje moved into the next compound. He was a widower too, soft-spoken, respectful and just the right balance of warmth and mystery. At first, it was neighborly chats across the fence, then occasional help with plumbing repairs, and slowly, dinners on her veranda that stretched into quiet conversations under the moonlight. Eje never pressured her, but his intentions were clear. He liked Silva, not as a friend, but as a woman he hopes to build something real with. For the first time in years, Silva allowed her guard to drop. They began seeing each other quietly. It wasn't anything official, but it was enough to make her feel alive again. He made her smile. He made Ada laugh. And for a moment, Silva started to wonder if healing could look like this. Then one evening, she came home after a calm, happy dinner date with Eje. As she opened the door and stepped into the silence of her home, her eyes landed on Ata's photo on the wall. It was the same frame that had watched her through nights of tears. Only now, it felt like he was looking right through her. The smile on her face dissolved. Her stomach turned. Guilt rose like a lump in her throat. She went to the bedroom, sat on the edge of the bed and stared at her phone. Minutes passed. Then she called Eje. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I can't do this anymore." He asked why gently, and she answered, "Because my heart is still wearing black." That night, Siva cried harder than she had in years. She pressed her face into her pillow, remembering how Ata used to hold her after long days and before sleep took her. She made a silent vow to the man whose body she had buried or thought she had. "I'll remain faithful to you, Ata, even in death."
By the time Ada turned 18,
she had gotten admission to a federal university in Nasarawa, the same state where Ata had studied political science. Siva helped her pack. They laughed, they hugged.
he handed Ada a photo album with the pictures of Ata in it.
"Keep this," she said, "so you don't forget who you are." Ada smiled, wide and bright, but deep inside, Siva's heart something trembled. She had buried her husband 12 years ago, or so she thought. 2 months after Ada resumed school in Nasarawa, Siva was sweeping the front veranda one Saturday morning when her phone rang. It was her daughter. "Hello, baby. How are you doing? How's school?" There was silence. Then a shaky voice replied, Mommy, I need to ask you something." Siva drops the broom. "What is it? What happened?" "Mommy," Adora's voice cracks. "Are you sure Daddy is really dead?" Siva blinked. Her heart started beating fast. "What kind of question is that?" Then Ada interjected again. "Mama, I mean, are you absolutely sure he's really dead? Because you told me he was burnt beyond recognition. What if it wasn't him?" Siva sat on the edge of the plastic chair outside, gripping the phone tighter. "Ada, I saw the wristwatch they found. We did a forensic test. It was your dad. Why are you asking me this kind of question now? Why?" There was silence again. Then Ada said quietly, "Mommy, I saw him yesterday at the car park behind the Faculty of Arts. He looked older, but it was him." Siva stopped breathing for a moment. "No, baby. It's probably someone that looks like him. People resemble people all the time." "Mommy, I thought so too," Ada said. "So I followed him from a distance. He entered a black Toyota Camry. He greeted someone, a woman. Then he carried a small child and kissed the child's head the way he used to kiss me." Siva's voice dropped. "Are you sure?" "Mommy, I even took a picture." Ada replied, "I'm sending it to you now." When the photo came in, Siva stared at it for 5 full minutes. Her fingers went cold. The phone nearly slipped from her hand. It was really Ata. Older, slightly bigger, but that scar near his left eye was still there. The one he got while trying to fix their leaking zinc roof years ago. Siva sat back and whispered, "Jesus." She called Ada again. "Baby, come home. Pack your things and come home this week." "But Mommy, I have lectures now." "I said you should come home. Your father has been dead for 12 years. I think missing 1 week of lectures is allowed. Come home." Ada returned home on Wednesday evening. They didn't sleep that night. They sat on the floor, poring over the picture, checking Facebook for anything that looked familiar, whether he was really alive. Ada remembered the woman's name. She had been tagged in a photo by someone called Dr. Oche. They searched the name. Nothing much on his page. But in one old photo, he had been tagged by a woman again named Ene Ochanya. Adora clicked on Enne's profile, and that was when everything changed. Her profile picture was of her, a young boy and a man, the same man Ada saw. Silva's mouth opened widely. That's him! That's your father! In one video, he was giving a speech. Marriage is not about perfection, it's about patience, he said in the same voice that once read bedtime stories in their living room. Ada started crying. Mommy, what is this? Who is that woman? Silva didn't answer. She was looking closely at the man's face in the video. The same scar, the same smile, the same tone, the same voice. She stood up and paced the room. This man, let us bury him, she said. He let me raise a child alone. He let me mourn for 12 years. Then she sat down again, covered her face and whispered, Why, Yatta? Why did you leave us alive, but grieving like the dead? Silva didn't sleep for 3 nights. Every time she tried to close her eyes, the video replayed in her mind. The scar near his left eye, the voice that once read her bedtime psalms, now delivering a speech about marriage. By the third night, she was no longer crying. Her pillow stayed dry. She told Ada, I'm coming to Nasarawa. The next day, she traveled in silence, rented a modest guest house near the university. For 2 days, they traced digital footprints, tagged photos, linked comments, names that rang distant bells. Eventually, they found her. Ene Ochanya, lecturer, married, mother of two. She was the woman in the picture. Silva didn't waste time. She sent her a message on Facebook immediately. Good evening, ma. I know this will sound strange, but I'd like to talk to you about your husband. Please call me on this number whenever you can. Surprisingly, Ene replied a few hours later. Sorry, who are you? Silva's fingers shook slightly as she typed. I believe your husband is the same man I buried 12 years ago. I'm not here for drama. I just want you to know the truth. A full day passed. Then there was a reply. There's a restaurant beside LG Plaza. Meet me there Sunday by 3 p.m. Come and say these things you just said to my face. By Sunday, 2:59 p.m., the fan in the restaurant turned lazily. The air smelt of boiled rice and fish stew. Silva sat at a corner table, her palms folded on her lap like someone waiting for court judgment. Ene arrived later. She spotted Sylvia immediately, walked over without smiling and sat down. Her voice was cool but tight. You were saying something ridiculous in that message. I almost blocked you, but I came for clarity. Silva nodded once. Thank you for coming. There were no further words, just silence thick enough for both of them to chew. Then Silva spoke. Your husband is also my husband. Ene was surprised. Call him. He needs to be here. Ene immediately called Atta, and few minutes later, he came in. They both turned as the door opened. Atta walked in, wearing simple native, holding a small nylon bag, maybe from the market. His steps slowed when he saw them. The blood drained from his face. He froze and then turned around slowly. Darling, are you okay? He didn't speak. He just stared at Silva like she was a ghost that has refused to stay buried. Then he turned back and tried to run away. Silva raised her voice. Atta, Atta, come back here. He stopped, then looked at Ene and walked closer. Sit down, she continued. Atta obeyed. The table now held 3 people and 1,000 memories. Silva studied him. He looked older, yes, but still had the same eyes, the ones that once looked at her like she was home. Atta, you let me bury you. Let her daughter grow up asking Jesus where her father went. You need to open your mouth and tell me why. Atta's voice was quiet, too quiet. I had to. It wasn't easy, but I did it to protect you. Protect me from what? The fan creaked. Ene blinked. Silva tilted her head slightly, eyes sharp. Ata, I ask you again, protect me from what? Ata looked down at the nylon bag. Then away. It's complicated. Ene's voice cracked open. Sharp. No, 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 it's not. How can you fake your death, abandon your wife, abandon your child, marry me? And you say it's complicated? No, no, that's calculated. Silva didn't flinch. You said protection, so say it oh. Was someone after me? Was someone after Ada? Were you marked for death, or are you just dressing up betrayal in a nice wrapper? Ata, tell me, what exactly was going on? Ata hesitated. I can't go into all of that. Silva's lips curled, not in a smile, but something more painful, more final. Because there's nothing to go into. Because if you open your mouth too wild, even you will start to smell the rot inside. Ata's voice got defensive. You don't know what it was like. I did what I had to do. I had no choice. Silva leaned forward. Her voice dropped. But it was the sharpest thing in the room. No, you had choices. You just didn't choose us. Ene pushed back her chair. The screech of it dragged every head in the room for a second. She stared at him. After you told me your first wife died in a gas explosion. You said you were grieving. You said you had no one. So was that lie part of your protection plan too? Ata's mouth opened. Nothing came out. He looked between them, Silva, stone-faced, Ene shaking with betrayal. Silva stood up, tied her scarf tighter. Her last words landed like quiet thunder. You didn't protect me, Ata. You freed yourself, and now you want me to believe it was noble? She paused. You're not a mystery. You're just a man too cowardly to admit he wanted to disappear and too selfish to stay gone. Then she walked out. No drama, just a woman reclaiming her life. Ene stayed seated a little longer. Then she slowly stood. You're a ghost, but not the kind worth mourning. She followed Silva. Ata sat alone. The fan turned slowly above him. They didn't speak on the ride back from the restaurant. The keke moved through the streets of Nasarawa like any other Sunday. Children chased tires, traders folded umbrellas. The world continued, but inside Silva something had stopped moving. Ada sat beside her, eyes on the road, hands clasped in her lap. She hadn't seen her father. She only heard the silence that followed his name. They got to the guest house. Silva unlocked the door. They entered. The room felt colder than before. She didn't sit. She didn't cry. She just walked to the corner, untied her scarf, folded it slowly and placed it on the chair. Mommy, Ada finally said. Was it really him? Silva nodded. It was him, oh. It was him. Ada's lip trembled. Then why? Why did he do that to us? Silva sat on the bed. Her voice was flat, but not weak. My daughter. Because some people don't disappear to protect you. They disappear to save themselves. Ada's eyes welled up. Mama, I waited for him. Every Christmas, every birthday, I used to dream he would just come back with a cake and say it was all a mistake, it was all a lie. Silva looked at her daughter, her strong, beautiful daughter, and reached for her hand. You waited because you loved him, but love isn't always enough to make people stay. Ada wept quietly, the kind of cry that comes with too many years of hope that has been shattered. And Silva held her like a mother, like a woman who once believed in forever. Meanwhile, Ene stood in her kitchen, her hands on the sink, her wedding ring beside a broken plate. Ata sat on the couch. Ene, he said, please just hear me out. She didn't turn. You lied about your past. You lied about your name. You made me raise a child on top of a funeral. And now you want to explain what exactly? She wiped her hands. You need to pack your things before my son wakes up. I will tell him the truth one day, but not with you under this roof. He wanted to beg, but something in her back, the way she stood straight, breathing through her nose, told him this was final. Back in Makurdi weeks later, Silva was back at her desk. The note from Ata was still there, but now she'd picked it up, folded it, and placed it in her drawer. Gently, respectfully, like something you don't need anymore but can't quite throw away. Her colleague brought a file. She smiled. "You're glowing, ma," he said. She smiled back. "Peace will do that to you." Ada had resumed school but not in Nasarawa. She transferred her admission, started over, not because of shame, but because home now had a new meaning. One night as Silva lay on her bed, her phone buzzed. It was a message from an unknown number. "I'm sorry. I never stopped thinking about you too. I wish things were different."
I would love to have my family back. You and Ada in it.
She stared at it for a long moment, then deleted it without replying. She looked at the ceiling, the same one that she had watched for years, crying, and whispered to no one exactly, "I don't need answers anymore." I survived the silence. The end. What a story. Hey, my summer squad. What do you think about this story? 12 years, 12 good years. A woman mourned a man who wasn't even dead. A daughter waited for a father who had already moved on. And another woman, was unknowingly building a life on someone else's pain. Let me ask you, that line, "I did it to protect you," what exactly was he protecting him from? Because he didn't protect them from peace. He didn't protect them from their childhood. He didn't even protect them from the truth. He protected only himself. And yet, that woman, Silva, she's a strong woman, I guess. She walked away with dignity because sometimes the best revenge is silence and healing. Now, I would like to hear from you. If you were Silva, would you forgive him? If you were Ada, would you even want a relationship with your father again? And if you are Ene, what would you do with a husband like that, that builds your marriage on lies? Please, let's have this conversation in the comment section. I'm reading every single one of your comments. And please, if you enjoyed this story, share it, send it to your sister, your friend, or anyone in particular who had some kind of experience like this. Let's remind someone today that losing some people in our life isn't always a heartbreak. Sometimes it's a breakthrough, because some exits are blessings in disguise. And if you are not yet part of the summer squad, what are you waiting for? Subscribe, Joe. This is where real stories live. Raw Nigerian, emotional, and always honest stories. Till next time, remember, love isn't always loud. Some questions don't deserve answers. Sometimes your peace is the full stop. Thank you so much for watching. I love you guys. See you next time. Bye.